Alright folks, pretty decent row this morning despite some less than optimal conditions. Let's break a few things down here, stroke to bow. First off, Catherine, I'd like to see you get a bit deeper into the catch position. You can see that there's a bit more separation between the seat and the ankles than is really ideal. If we close that gap up a little bit, I think that would I think you'd be able to engage a little bit better in the early part of the drive. As you can see here, the blade is getting down and into the water pretty well, but it isn't really until right about there that I feel like that it looks to me like you're really fully connected to the water and, driving all the way through to the bow here. So let's try to figure out a way to help you get tighten up the distance between your feet and your seat, so that you can get your body under you a little bit better as you initiate the drive phase. There's still also, you can see here that there's still a bit of a shoulder throw right at the beginning of the catch. Let's work on that a little bit. I know I've been talking about it, but what I want you to do is, rather than trying to lift up here, as you can see, you're really sitting up with your upper back at the catch. So rather than doing that, just kind of let these hands track that way as you come into the catch. See that your hands are staying nice and level. Oops, let me get rid of this. See that your hands are staying nice and level as you come into the catch, but then they dive down just a little bit, and then the shoulders come up, and the blade goes in the water. So let's try to use the hands and not the shoulders to get the blade into the water. All right, Caroline. Let's see. So one thing that I'd like everybody else to notice is, look at Caroline's blade speed out of the catch. Now, some of you might look at this and think, "Oh man, she's so slow getting Aurora away from the body." That is something that we're going to work on and work towards, believe it or not. This is pretty good early connection. You can see a nice early bend in the oar right there, which is great. I think the main thing here, Caroline, is that you can see that there's a little bit of a throw right there. You're throwing just a bit of water right at the finish. So if we can try to keep that outside hand just a little bit higher as you come into the finish, that'd be ideal, so that we can stay a little better connected from here, the catch, all the way to here at the finish. It's also a pretty good motion, placing the blade straight down and in, straight down and in. I think there's occasionally, I think you can see here, and I think it's because you kind of catch the bottom of the water and catch the bottom of the blade to the water a little bit because of a bump. But you can see here that there's a little bit of a lift and catch motion. It's very, very subtle. Just pay attention to it. All right, Alex. Things are looking, pretty decent here. I think the one thing that I would say to you is, let's try to finish a little bit further into bow. Right now, your body is positioned here. Oops, sorry. Oops, sorry about that. Right now, your body is positioned right about here at the finish. We're looking for it to be more like there-ish at the finish. So just a little bit more layback at the finish, and also a little bit more forward body angle in the catch position. Like it almost seems as if you get your body set there, and then don't want it to move anymore. I think that you can get a little bit more swing from your hips into the stern. Ellen, we talked about this on the water. You know, the timing isn't bad here, Ellen. You're beating Caroline into the water a little bit, but not by a whole lot. But the main thing is, look at all the water that's going to come off of that shaft at the finish. Because you're driving it a little deep, because of how high the blade gets right before, from here to here, the blade gets really high. That means you've got to move those hands a whole lot in order to get the blade in, which means that the blade ends up diving a little deep. Kelly Allen. Okay, Kelly, so you can see that you're doing a good job of waiting until the blade is connected. If you look right back here, you'll see where your blade really connects. You can see that you're waiting until the blade is connected before you start to press on it. Let's try to think of how we're going to speed up that connection. I think the main way you're going to do it is by taking some of the motion out of your shoulder here and putting it in your putting that motion in your hands instead, because there's this big shoulder throw and not a lot happening down by the hands. If we can reverse those two, that'd be ideal. Just be, hands without shoulders. All right, Rachel, this is looking pretty sharp, pretty flat, pretty direct into the water. Occasionally you get a little less direct, but it hasn't happened yet in the strokes we're looking at. I'll have a big picture comment in just a moment, Rachel. Mackenzie, one thing I noticed earlier today is you're kind of squaring up a little bit earlier than other people. Not a huge deal, but let's just watch that timing. I think, Mackenzie, one thing I want to see is just a little bit more violence from you from this position to this position. So a little more violence from about 3/4 of the way through the drive all the way to the finish. Like, I just want to see a more aggressive shoulder and tailbone motion that way. So really, throwing them into the bow a little more. Olivia, this is pretty good. I said on the water, that outside shoulder is kind of pushing the outside hand down a little bit, which is causing, you can see right over here, you can kind of watch how your blade travels this direction coming into the catch. Let's look at that again. Oops. So basically, Olivia, if you can keep that outside hand a little lighter, a little more lively, then this blade won't end up flying up right before the catch. Now, folks, as a big picture thing, the boat is looking pretty good, but I don't know, I feel like we're missing a little bit of aggression from the 3/4 drive to the finish. Like, it's nice and, place connects Sendy from full compression to 3/4 of the way through the drive. But I think what we really need is just a little more recklessness from about halfway through the drive all the way to the finish, because you can see that, y'all are kind of, trying to row it like it looks good, which is fine when you're doing steady state, but I need you to win steady state pieces as definitively as possible. I think that the thing that's really kind of a symptom here is that your power curves are all just a little mismatched. Like, Catherine has that classic, sharp peak in the middle. Caroline, yours looks a little more leveled out. Alex, yours looks a little more rounded out, so a little bit of a rounder power curve in the middle, which is fine. The main thing we're going to be looking for here is to synchronize those power curves where everybody is rowing is, kind of reaching maximal pressure at the same time. There is such a thing as a front-end rower and a back-end rower, and we're trying not to have that. All in all, good work. We'll look forward to trying to get this same lineup out on Monday.